Good, okay. Okay, welcome to our online folks. Dan, hi, Linda and Judy. And to everybody who is here on this holiday season meeting of the Dryden Rail Trail. I think what I would like to do with the agenda tonight is just do a little bit of a switch. Because we have Charlie Troutman with us here to talk to us about the washout options for repairing the washout at the NYSEG section. I'd like to do introductions, welcome and introductions, and then we'll postpone the approval of the minutes and just go right into the presentation about that washout. In addition, we'll talk about phase 3 planning, funding for phase 3 planning, signage, and the trail ambassadors program. So that's kind of the overview of the agenda. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, great. I'll start introductions and we'll do them in-house and then I'll pass them to the folks on screen. So welcome again, everybody. I'm Alice Green and I'm the interim chair of the task force.
Hi, I'm Sue Funicelli, volunteer at large.
Great, thank you, Sue.
I've been here, I'm on the task force.
Susan Ashdown on the task force.
I'm Benjamin Anderson. I did a study for you guys a couple of months ago.
That's right. Well,
I'm Tony Bretcher on the task force.
Rose Borsick on the task force and secretary.
Chris Tassali Himes on the task force.
Diane Tassali Himes on the task force.
great. And Judy, please.
I'm Judy Pierpont and I'm on the task force.
Dan?
Dan Lim, Deputy Supervisor, Liaison to this distinguished group.
Distinguished liaison to the distinguished group. Thank you, Dan. And Linda.
Hi, I'm hiding because I'm not feeling well, and so I probably haven't brushed my hair. But I'm eager to try to find out where I might fit in this committee.
Oh, great.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining us, Linda.
Okay.
Ben and all our task force members and liaison. Wonderful. So, oh, this is Jacob Yatsko. Oh, great. One more person who's joining us. I'll let him introduce himself as soon as he connects to audio. Take it a minute.
Back from college and.
Yeah, just got back
There's trouble.
2 days ago. Here we go.
Yeah.
Hi, Jacob.
Very
We
busy.
just finished introductions. As you got on, you want to introduce yourself quick?
Sure. Hello, my name is Jacob Yatsko. Grew up in Dryden. Now I'm in Buffalo. Worked with Bike Walk Tompkins for biking and walkability stuff, and I've been interested in this project ever since I heard about it. So I've been going to the meetings, and here I am.
Yay, thank you. That's some real loyalty from folks who are away at school and still zooming in with us. Wonderful. Okey doke. So I think maybe we'll just turn it over to you at this point. And would you like me to put the slides up on the screen?
Yeah, sure.
here?
Let's
Okay,
go ahead.
good. Get those ready to go. Mhm. While I'm getting the share together, would you like to do a little overview of why the background of bringing Charlie to
Sure.
speak with us?
Sure. So, so Charlie has been interested in doing all kinds of different trail-related projects for a number of years, and among other notable things, helped to refurbish the bridge over Fall Creek at Flat Rock, a year-plus initiative that ended up being very successful in redecking that entire span with students and Cornell fundraising, added new railings, and then last year with support from the students, did another project at Monkey Run to bridge a ravine that was a very difficult trail section and pulled off another outstanding project, and Charlie came knocking on my door, offering wonderful interest in doing another collaborative project. And having had Ben just presented to our group, I thought, here's a project that we could potentially put together, some students and Charlie's stick-to-itiveness and ingenuity, along with a part of the trail that we had the ability to construct but didn't have plans for or the money for. And so had some initial conversations with Charlie, and now we're here.
Yay, great. So I'll be the person who moves this
Okay.
forward if you just tell me when to do it.
Okay.
I'll hand it to you.
All right. So it's great to be here. I've heard a lot about this group from Todd over the years and made a huge amount of progress. And as a runner, I use the trail and hiker, and so it's really nice to see the possibility of extending this even farther. In fact, I was just with some people tonight who were going to be running a marathon on the Black Diamond part of the trail. You know, so it's a wonderful asset for this community. My background is that I'm a registered professional engineer in the past, and I teach at Cornell in the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering. And I'm advisor to the student engineering group that does service projects like these bridges. So that's how I hooked up with Todd here a couple of years ago. And this might be an interesting project for us to tackle. Has some challenges that are a little bit different from what we've done in the past. So yeah, let's go ahead, and I just wanted to get everybody on the same page. Is that as large as it gets? I don't know if you can. Yeah, that's good. So this is the project site, and it's just off of Pinckney Road. You can see Pinckney Road in the center there. You can see Dryden, Route 13 to Dryden, and you see Nisig down at the bottom. And the red circle with the star is where this washout is. How many of you are familiar with this site directly? Okay, so just about everybody. When you looked at it probably a few months ago, it was all overgrown with all kinds of shrubbery that made it difficult to really see the magnitude of the problem. That's been cleared now, so you can see what's really going on there. Okay, so question is how to get across this, and I want to acknowledge also Ben. Do you go by Benjamin or Ben?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, Ben's work, which really laid some great groundwork for what we've done in the past couple of months by mapping the area and looking at beaver dams and all kinds of other things going on in that area. So thank you for that and for the excellent report you did. It's really a excellent piece of work. So the next slide gets to what we're actually talking about here. So this is a bird's eye view of the rail embankment, and you can see to the sort of the northeast corner, it goes towards Pinckney Road, and to the northwest corner, and then the southeast corner going further on towards Freeville. And there's a beaver dam just to the sort of southwest of that. You see the water there in the blue. There's a beaver dam about probably 50 feet or so from the crossing. And the actual gap you see there, it's only about 8 or 10 feet at the bottom, and the water is only about a foot deep. It's not really a huge engineering feat to cross this thing, but there are some issues. One is that the embankment itself is about 15 feet high off the water, and it's very, very steep. So, and it has to have the capacity to hold a 30-ton truck full of gravel. that's gonna, spread gravel on the rest of the trail. So this is not just a little wood footbridge that we're talking about here. It's gotta be a pretty substantial structure. Not impossible, very doable, but you should all be aware it's not just a 5-foot, footbridge wood. So the other thing that Todd mentioned to me is that it would be really nice if we could have people crossing the water down closer to the water so that they can see the beaver activity, they can see the plants that are changing all throughout the spring season and the summer. Everything's changing, and it would be nice to have people be close to that. So the idea was to have this crossing about 5 feet above water, if possible. So that gets people down where they can actually see the nature that's going on there. Great idea. In order to do that, we would need to take the area there that you see in gray and do something with that soil. Because there's about 8 or 9, 10 feet of soil that has to get removed, and it has to come down on an ADA accessible slope. So it's about 200 feet either side of the crossing that has to be dealt with. So that's that gray shape that you see on either side of the crossing. Yep.
What is the percent grade for ADA? For those?
It's 1 in 20.
Okay.
So if we need to go down 10 feet, let's say in round numbers, we need to go back about 200 feet.
Okay.
And that's what you see here. So the question is, what to do with that soil, and what we've talked with Rick Young and the town engineering department, and he is nominally willing to have his guys push that soil either off to the side or back on the rail trail itself and raise the grade, a couple of inches. So that soil doesn't have to be trucked off site. Okay, that would be very expensive to move that off site. So that's what we're looking at. There are 2 ways to get across that little water area there. One is with a bridge of some sort, and another is with a box concrete culvert. So a box culvert would probably be about 8 feet wide and about 5 feet high, and would have soil over it, and it's a little bit simpler to do than build a bridge. So that's something, those are the 2 options that we've in a preliminary way looked at. Don't have good cost estimates for the box culvert yet, but I have an estimate from a firm down in Binghamton that's working on it coming. And so we'll talk about costs in a minute. So that's basically where we are with the potential problem in the design. Does anybody have any questions going forward? Sure.
Hypothetically, let's take for a moment and say that we kept the rail bed at its existing level.
Yeah.
And if you install a box culvert, how many truckloads of dirt and gravel would be required to be brought in?
Okay, so to do that. Well, you probably wouldn't want to do that. You'd probably take the soil that's already there and just kind of slope it down a little bit.
Okay.
So wouldn't be that much. That is another option, of course.
Yeah, we're trying to minimize trucking because that
Sure.
adds.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a lot of trucking costs for the trail surface material as it is.
Yep. Comment about doing grading, there is the fiber optic that's already installed below the surface. And presumably they have mapping, Dryden Fiber has mapping of where they actually went from, whatever, 3 feet below. It started to angle down below. And so somehow we'd have to work around the grading.
Well, this part, they had to go under the creek.
Right, but they may have
So-
shot down, 20 feet back or 50 feet back or something, not 200 feet. So there may be, at grade fiber that's just.
All the
surface.
utilities will have to be brought into the design.
Right.
So,
Okay.
And Susan, you
Yeah, I
had,
was just wondering about potential flooding and how that interacts with bridge and or culvert.
Yeah, so the right now the water is pretty stagnant. It doesn't really move very much. There is this beaver dam that Ben mapped out so well, about 50 feet down to the southwest of the crossing, and on this map, it's actually so that beaver dam, if that were to burst, we would want to have capacity in the bridge or the culvert to handle that flow of a sudden release of that beaver dam. And I think that again is an engineering issue that we'd have to address when we get closer to design, but it's certainly not a problem for a box culvert to handle that kind of flow. I mean, this is going to be a big cross-sectional area, and it can handle that kind of water coming through if it were to. Yeah.
Did you say that maybe you said dimensions of the box culvert? How
Oh,
wide and how long?
Well, we would have to design it, but we're probably talking 8 feet by maybe 4 feet high, 5 feet high, something like that.
And how long?
Well, it would be the width of the embankment there. So it probably would need to be at least a dozen feet. Because the embankment is, no, probably more than that. The embankment is between 16 and 18 feet at the top. So yeah, we're probably talking quite a bit longer than that.
It'd have to be as long or as deep as
That's the bottom of
the
the embankment. Yeah.
So that's built on site, right? You don't truck that in from somewhere.
It is actually, it's prefabbed and
pieces,
precast
yeah.
in Binghamton, and then they would truck it up here and place it.
it would be in multiple pieces.
Yeah, sections, not all one. Yeah. Mhm.
And would that then impede the view of, as you said, to be able to see the dam and things below it?
That would, well, it depends on how it were done. If it were,
Okay.
the easiest way to do it is to put in the culvert and fill it in with a little soil and have just a little bit of a dip there. And then you don't get that closeness to the water. But that's the simplest solution. Yeah.
So just on the beaver though, not just from a dam blowing out, but also ongoing added maintenance for DPW and having to deal with nuisance beavers and things like that, which in this case, we want them there. That's part of what's interesting about it. So having the design be something that can not create a threat to the trail and the beaver can persist. And just last week, I'm talking with Rick Young, we're having some recurring problems on the Shug section between Purvis North Road and whatever the next Lake Road or something, which goes through the Botanic Garden natural area. Last year, a dam breached and the water flowing out of the impoundment was flowing directly at the trail. And it was threatening to wash out the embankment, which then would create a whole new problem for us. And so Rick got a hold of us and we recognized this for what it was. And as well that the town owns that 66 feet there. It's not an easement like in other sections. So they have he didn't even have to call us. Because the town has the right to manage those kinds of things. But he did it anyway, and we were on board with the solution. Well, apparently Rick got his ear bent by folks from the Conservation Board for approaching it the way that he did. So long story short, having a design that doesn't create new maintenance problems or other kinds of conflict for DPW would be among the goals of the project, that we can design a system that allows the beaver to be there and doesn't create those kinds of potential threats.
Such as incorporating some sort of large, boulders or very large rocks along the stream side, so if there is a flow, sudden flow or whatever.
I don't know about that because, you know, if the dam breaks wherever, it could, the water can go wherever it wants to go. The wider the opening, the better it is for beaver maintenance. The smaller the culvert is, it's kind of that part, I guess, was where I was getting at. All right, Charlie, sorry.
No, it's fine. No, these are good points. So let's go on to the next slide, and this is just a very broad brush outline of project elements for what we need for this next segment. So the first thing that we need to worry about is just the site preparation and the moving of the earth. However the solution is concocted, there will be some earth moving, and that's where hopefully the Dryden staff can come in. We need to do some engineering design and cost estimates, and that will help us to determine what makes the most sense. Then there's the construction, and then the trail needs to be surfaced from, at this point, we're at Pinckney Road to the edge of our property where our last easement is, which is a couple hundred feet from the bridge towards the Freeville side. So those are just 4 pieces. If we could go on to the next one. And this is a possible schedule that I threw together. So the site preparation, that's the earthwork, could potentially happen next spring if we know what we want to do. The engineering design and cost estimates, that can happen this spring. We've already done some work on the design of a bridge if we went that way. And if we did end up going with the box culvert, that would probably be even a simpler solution in terms of design. And then there's the construction, which could happen potentially a year from now, fall 2025 into spring. And then the final surfacing, which Todd referred to, that would be stone dust that has to be put down on the trail. And there's some earthwork there that I don't know whether we could prevail upon Dryden to do that for us or not. But anyway, that's another piece that doesn't necessarily have to stop the construction of the crossing. Okay, but obviously we want that for the trail to be finished. Okay, next slide. And these are just some again, very, very budgetary cost estimates. So the site preparation, I'm thinking a couple of machines, like some sort of a track mount, a bulldozer for about a week each, and that would be Town of Dryden hopefully doing that. The engineering design and cost estimates would be done by our students and with my help, and actually Patrick, who Chris knows very well, he did the drawings for us.
Oh, yes.
He's my son-in-law who works with Chris at the Lab of Ornithology, and he's pretty good on that kind of stuff. So he drew the designs for you there. And then the permitting, again, would be students helping with that and whatever cooperation, collaboration we need with this group. Probably not an out-of-pocket cost for that. Maybe some minor permit fees, I don't know. But and then the construction, I'm estimating about $20K for a bridge crossing, and that's hopefully on the high side. It's basically wood, some steel beams, a bit of concrete, and then again, we would have volunteers doing most of the construction on that. So that could be a combination of students, any people in this room that want to help, different people that like trail work, just love to work on trails, and there's a bunch of them out there that we've had working on the 2 bridges for the last couple of years. And so we would hope to not have a charge for any labor there. And then the final trail surfacing, estimating again about 15K for the stone dust to get us from Pinckney Road past the bridge a couple of 100 feet. And that would that can come from Cayuga crushed stone. There's a number of sources, but as Todd mentioned, it's the trucking that's almost more than the material itself. And of course, if Dryden wanted to drive some trucks with the stone dust, that would be even better.
Well, they've done all the way from Game Farm to FH Fox Bridge, trying to get it. So they're used to doing that.
Yes, okay. So again, just a very rough estimate, probably about 35K that we would need, hopefully on the outside to get us from Pinckney Road to past this gap. And I think that may be about it for my presentation. So we've had a pretty good discussion already. I don't want to take, your whole meeting up with this, but I'm happy to entertain any other questions if either you all here or whoever's watching out in Zoom land has any questions. Dan, good to see you, by the way. It's been a while.
Likewise, Charlie, this is amazing and such a relief to kind of see this mapped out in such a practical way. I think a lot of us thought this would be a more elaborate endeavor. And I think what you're proposing is a more practical solution, removing the dirt and then lowering the overall grade. That just makes a lot of sense. So thank you. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, the town, I'm sure we'll find the resources to pitch in. That's much more affordable than what we were anticipating. So very good. Just that timeline again. Any chance we could see that one more time? I just want to get those.
Yeah, that may be a bit aggressive. I don't know.
Okay. But that's great.
That was all nice, isn't it?
Yeah, we're talking about potential construction of the crossing next fall or continuing into the spring of 2026. Okay. And if we went with the culvert solution, it would be quite quick. That would be placed in a day, basically, and then earthwork around it to fill it in. So that definitely gets us there a lot quicker.
I think that's fine in terms of our other work and the other bridge that we are involved in. Makes me think we should have got you involved in that one too.
Do we have to get permission from NYSEG in any way, approval?
Good question. We have an answer for that.
So there's a couple more things in the timeline, and we need to notify NYSEG. And Rose, to answer your question, the washout is all on NYSEG, but the project would include Glen Swan's property,
Okay.
which is the first off of Pinckney before you get onto NYSEG. So the trail improvements would be on Swan and NYSEG. So
my question on that was based on wondering if when we bring this down lower, does that provide an opportunity for people to go and wander down on the properties, and is that like any kind of issue?
it's wet to the north. I'm sorry, to the south. So I don't think so. There's other parts of the trail where you're at grade and we don't really have that issue. So I don't think that's
We can't fence the whole trail. So.
Right. I was thinking beaver dams are sort of interesting, anyway, and
they're also wet.
So our NYSEG easement has very unique language in it, different than the boilerplate language that we have with others. And there's two provisions in here. It says licensee shall submit all plans and specifications for any work to be done to the premises, NYSEG at least 30 days before work is commenced. And then NYSEG shall have the right to require changes in such plans and specifications to the extent it deems such changes are necessary or desirable. So but what it's referring to is they don't want their infrastructure damaged. So if what we're proposing to do might jeopardize their utility lines or their substation or whatever might be out there, they reserve the right to say, no, you can't do that. Well, that really isn't gonna be pertinent here. And then there's another provision. Licensee shall notify NASEG of the dates on which any work is to commence and terminate at least 5 days prior to such date. And they have the right to require work be halted at any time if they reasonably deem it necessary to protect NICEAG's property or facilities. So there's some possible ways that they could stop things, but it doesn't say that we have to wait for their approval in order to proceed. We just have to provide notification and, you know, but Alice brought this up at our Friday meeting. We don't know exactly who at NICEAG that we need to be dealing with. And sometimes that takes a month to figure out. So those things should be in the schedule. And we think that we will not have to obtain a wetland permit from DEC, but there'll be a notification that's required for that because we are going to be doing in-stream work with whatever alternative we do, but we shouldn't have to do any mitigation because we're going to avoid wetland impacts with the project as one of the project goals.
Great.
NICEAG also has grants. Would they be interested in funding this?
Well, Dan helped us apply for one that we didn't get before, but it was, they like wanted to electrify parts of our project was like one of the main, like lights on a bridge or something like that, Dan?
Yeah. I think this might be a better fit for the Berkshire Hathaway grant program. That's a more modest grant program that, as you may recall, we already got 25 grand from them, and we might as well go back there. The NICEAG one, I feel like we might have been overpromised on our chances. Wouldn't hurt to ask again, but my former student has moved on. He doesn't work there anymore.
Well,
we were looking at the Triad grant for this one,
correct.
but we can pause conversation on that for the time being.
Okay. Yeah, so we actually could consider making requests to all three of those potential sources. And just as a sort of initial feasibility ask, NICEAG, Berkshire Hathaway, and Triad, we could always do it, ask for interest in the project. Although maybe we need to have more discussion to hone in on who specifically gets asked.
Yeah, and I would say that one of the things that we want to do in sequence is the design really needs to come before the earthwork and site preparation. And so I had a good conversation with Rick Young about at what points in time in the design project he wants to be engaged, because there's such a big stakeholder in doing some of the work. And Rick's was fully on board for a reasonable amount of work to be done by the DPW for this project. And when we come up with, you know, the 2 or 3 designs that are a little bit more kind of advanced with costs and what the requests of the DPW time-wise and equipment-wise would be, that then we would sit down with Rick and Charlie and kind of go over all of that and get both feedback from DPW as well as kind of like which ones really make the most sense with the funds that we think we can get, with the time that DPW has, not just for this project, but for the other ones that they're going to be working on this coming year. And then kind of coming up with that preferred alternative and you know, hopefully buy-in from everybody And then we can kind of put the wheels in motion. And I think we can be doing the grant solicitations concurrent with that. But that is gonna be a key part in the project timeline. And I think it'd be great for the students to be part of those conversations as well, when we're at that point.
Great. So it sounds like that part of it, we're really talking about spring semester for that potentially. Yes?
Right.
Do the students, would it be good for the students to help out with grant writing, grant proposal writing?
That would be great. It would be a good experience for them. I don't think it's gonna, I don't think that that's gonna work just because of the amount of work that has to be done already to, you know, they're looking at permitting, they're looking at design options, costing, materials, acquisition, all that stuff. That's a lot. So I don't wanna overpromise.
Other questions or comments for Charlie?
You gave a price for the bridge. Can you give a price for the box culvert? Approximate, very approximate.
Yeah, so I really would be just, you know, pulling something out of the air, which I'm not really prepared to do. No.
You said there's somebody in Binghamton working on getting.
Yeah, there's a company that's like Binghamton Precast is working on getting an estimate for us. But yeah, I really don't, it's not most of my work has been in the sort of the soils and bridge construction, and I don't, that's not an area that I'm really totally familiar with, is precast concrete. So.
This would be a good experience for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's always something to learn.
That's great.
No.
Okay, any other questions before we move on or comments? I'll just say thank you so
Yes,
much
thank
for
you.
coming here.
Thank you.
Meeting with us in person, and it's just so helpful to sit around a table together and with our virtual visitors and to be able to work through this.
Yeah.
So next steps, you'll be in communication with Todd about.
Yeah, I would say Todd is sort of my main point of entry at this point, unless there's a different way that you'd rather do it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Todd works about what, 100 yards, 150 yards from where I live. So
We're neighbors. Well, actually, Charlie's backyard is Fall Creek and one of our natural areas, so we actually are neighbors.
That's great. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So I have a couple more minutes. I'll maybe just sit through the next item if you're going to do the Route 13 bridge, because I'm very interested in that.
Okay, good. We'll move to
And then
that.
I'll head off. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So I'll just take this down and bring the agenda back up. So I am reporting some really good news about the Route 13 bridge. Finally, there's movement. I spoke with Ray today to confirm what we heard on Friday, which is that the town has signed and Department of Transportation have signed the certificate of right-of-way approval. That was the last big hurdle.
Oh, get out the
We've got sparkling here, red wine, sparkling cranberry juice. Here. So this news is making us think that the next thing that will arrive from the Department of Transportation is a approval to advertise. That will be forthcoming within the next few weeks, couple of weeks. At that point, our engineer, Urban Anthony, is ready to advertise for bidding. The state requires at least 4 weeks until the bids, while the request is out. Thank you. So the bid advertisement will be preceded by a 4-week window. And after that point, we will have a bunch of bids. The engineer will evaluate the bids and then bring them to our project management committee to work out an evaluation procedure in-house for us to select a contractor. So we think that we're 2 to 3, maybe 4 months out from being at the stage where we will actually have bids and select a contractor. And then it looks like the work on the wing walls will happen, and hopefully the contractor that we hire will order the prefabricated bridge right at the get-go so that it can be delivered before the end of the 2025 construction season. So that's, I think, what I heard at our project managers meeting.
When is the end of the 2025 construction season?
Well, it depends, of course, on what the weather is, but I'm thinking calendar year. We'd really like to see it. We'd really like to see a contractor selected this spring, the work begin over the summer, the bridge delivered, if we're lucky, in the fall. There's a chance. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but there's a chance that there could be still some hiking, biking, horseback riding possible.
The bridge goes in and it's just a couple days.
Yeah.
That's the smallest part of the whole thing.
As long as it's not backward.
You know,
The bridge over the inlet, it doesn't seem like it took them very long to install that.
Yeah, that went in fast. Once the wing walls are on, once the footers were there, this went right in. So, it was a really long process for us to get that easement approval.
Yeah.
And we've talked about some of the places where we needed to make sure that DOT understood that we had right of ways, even if we didn't have the full 66 feet width of the corridor where we had 33 feet approved, we can build our 10 or 12 foot trail line within that footprint. And so their approval means they agree. We have everything.
including the last question that came up that showed that we were trying to build a trail on the neighboring property. We didn't have an easement for, I'm blanking on their name.
Shippos.
And that Paul and EA might have to move the trail, and long story short, they made an error in a very complicated map and left out the property boundary that showed that the trail was actually on the Cornell part that we had the easement for, and so they didn't need to make a change to the alignment to avoid the Shippo property.
Oh, wow.
So, so those are the kind of things that were holding this up with that level of little.
But that was a happy little accident.
That was, and the town had the ability to build a trail where EA approved the trail being built, so.
Excellent.
So now we're.
Wow, we're surging along here.
Can I return to what we were talking about before? Because trail going from Pinckney Road to the NICEAG property goes on Glen Swan. So it's all gonna be on Glen Swan's land?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, very good.
we don't have the easement
On the other side.
storage unit
Yeah,
side.
yeah, okay. I'll make the red line there.
Our official map maker. So good. So any other comments or questions on where we are with the Route 13 bridge?
Just hooray.
Yeah.
Here, here.
Bravo. Me standing here. Well done.
Great. So we switched that out with the let's see, we're moving along. Let's just go ahead and go back and approve the November meetings in minutes, and then we'll go ahead and talk about phase 3.
Look out then. Thank you all.
Thanks, Shirley.
Thank you. Thank you all for the work that you do. This is,
Can you,
it's wonderful to have a group like this.
Want to take some treats with you?
Well,
we have an overabundance.
We might have more than,
Yeah. That's good.
one for the road.
Yep.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we move off of this though, I think it would be good for us to draft the press release for announcing that we're going up to bid for social media and things like that.
Okay.
So we have it ready and can send that out. You know, when we decide to.
As soon as we can.
Before it goes out to bid, draft it.
Yeah, like when we get approval from DOT to go out to bid.
Yeah.
That's a huge milestone for us, right? That we've been waiting to be able to do, which means that the project is advanced and we just want to put that out there on the listserv and on Facebook and, you know, whatever.
See if we get someone to do an article on it.
Yeah, I think in the past, I have drafted some of the press releases Dan has and Todd has. On various aspects of sections. So maybe that's the team to work on this. I can put a draft together and then run it by you guys first and then everybody. How about that? Good, and I just put the timing down into my own notes. Great.
It won't stir up a hornet's nest.
It may. We
We've
can
survived it
mitigate that.
before.
Are you saying it will stir up a hornet's
Might.
nest?
No, I'm just wondering if it will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people come out of work and make snarky comments and those get, we'll squash those.
It's just good news and we'll deal
Yeah,
with whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
With it. It's
Mhm.
a done deal. It's moving forward, folks. Good. Okay, so let's go back to the I saw.
I just
questions,
Googled
Steve.
the cost of a box culvert.
Oh,
What is it?
8x8 would cost 25,000. Didn't talk about the length of it.
Okay.
Doesn't sound totally outrageous.
Well, the other thing is, there may be cost differences between like DOT road roadworthy capable box culverts. I don't know, I'm just speculating, but so there may be.
Have you guys made a decision on whether or not you want a bridge or a culvert?
No,
Yeah.
We're gonna let the students come up with their recommendation first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking as a resident, I would love if we had a little bridge in that area. I think
we all
especially
would.
because
Yeah.
it's a natural area with the beavers and everything coming right down. I think the bridge would be also probably less disturbance to the environment because you're not covering it up with more dirt. But I think it would just be I would enjoy a bridge. And I would also volunteer my time if look at that.
I'm sure the students want to bridge. It's so much more fun to build a
I
bridge. than
agree,
it is.
I agree. Having something be daylighted and a bridge is a daylighted thing is better for the wildlife than
Sure,
a
yeah.
culvert.
Yeah.
So, but I think that the biggest cost is gonna be in moving the dirt around and deciding on what the elevation is going to be, and the elevation is gonna drive costs for whatever you have to span.
Right.
So, and we can't move material into the wetland to the south, so we only have essentially the north half in order to put material, so it's a bit limiting.
okay. So Ben, you'd be really welcome to join us at our upcoming meetings virtually if you like. As we get the return on the students' work to talk to us more about what they have found about cost potentials. And
Awesome.
we'll be weighing the pros and cons, I think, over spring semester.
Yes. Yeah, these meetings aren't publicly open to Zoom, but by invitation, so.
Okay. So let's go back, try again on the November minutes. Thank you again, Rose, for the all the detail there. Any additions, edits, or changes to the November minutes? Hearing none, do I have a move for approval? Chris, and second Todd. All in favor of approving the November minutes? Looks like it's unanimous. Great, thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you, Rose. There was a lot of detail in that last.
Yeah.
Yes,
Is that
it's
too much
wonderful.
detail?
No,
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 it's
no,
great.
it was
It's
good.
great.
No,
It's
it was
great.
really, it's so helpful. It's so helpful to me as I think about setting the agendas to have really all that detail there, because that's what has to turn around into our next steps. So thank you. So the next item on our agenda, gosh, I said we'd be here at 8 o'clock and it's 5 to 8. I can hardly believe it. Funding for phase 3. And we already have alluded to this a little bit. I wanted to just start our conversation about funding possibilities for phase 3 by mentioning that at the county hosted Parks and Trails meeting week before last, Todd and I learned that the county has not included in their 2025 budget the Parks and Trails grants that they have given in the past. We've had a couple of those that have allowed us to do kiosks and crossings. And because of budget constraints this year, that's not included. So, and those tend to be about 5,000. And so that is not available to put towards the projects that we're looking at for 2025. Thanks to Dan, who has a connection with the county Parks and Trails folks, we were alerted that we needed to document the last Parks and Trails grant that we had, which is some surface repairs and added stone dust in the Monkey Run area. And we did check, Todd checked in with the DPW guys and they had not gotten to do that work yet. So we were able to send a note to Darby Kiley at the county saying, it will be on the schedule in 2025 and we'd like to request an extension. And
on that, the scope was to resurface the trail section over the FH Fox Bridge up to the washout and potentially make some improvements to the washout, which Bruno did with his machine years ago, and it's really, really steep and it's eroded a bit since then. So it's a bit of a safety issue, and Rick and DPW are on board for working on that. But we set as a next step that we would meet on site and kind of refine the scope of work to make sure we're all on the same page about what needed to be done and how.
Great.
But we're getting the extension to buy us the year for that.
Good. Okay. And secondly, we just listed our intention to go back to Triad, and it seemed logical to ask for help with phase 3 work. Now we have some other suggestions for potential funding. We had some volunteers to help us look at, thank you, Rose, thank you, look at other potential grants, but we have some particulars in mind right now. So anything else to say about, well, you know what, I just switched to funding and I meant to talk first about planning. But anyway, all right, so anything else to say about funding for phase 3? Okay, let's go back to phase 3 planning. Thanks to Todd, we made connection with Erdman Anthony and lined up an estimate for a solid estimate for a study of alternative routes in the Pinckney Road to Route 366 section. Actually, did I misname this?
Yeah,
Urban Anthony's study is,
it goes
To
to
Freeville.
Johnson.
it should go to Johnson Road. Yeah, that's in my agenda, that's a mistake. Should say to Johnson Road. Do you want to talk about funding for that?
Sure. So, as Alice mentioned, we applied for the Design Connect grant opportunity for them to do a feasibility study, which always was expected to be at least a hybrid approach because they wouldn't be able to do the costing part for these different alternatives. So they gave us, or Urban Anthony gave us some numbers. If we got the Design Connect grant and then if we didn't, what they could, what they suggested they would be able to do the work for, just with themselves. And coincidentally, that amount ended up being pretty much almost what Tompkin County ITCTC grant program has available that Fernando de Aragon had made us aware of. And when we learned that we didn't get the Design Connect proposal, Fernando encouraged us to have the town of Dryden apply for this. And so we got a formal request from Ferdinand Anthony and sent it to Ray, and Ray has it on the agenda for Wednesday, is it?
I think it's Tuesday, tomorrow's
Tomorrow.
meeting at 1 o'clock.
And so seems highly probable that we will be able to get that. And so then the town can turn around and contract with Urban Anthony and we can work on implementing what they proposed. And so essentially what we wrote up in the agreement is that they would look at 3 alternatives. One alternative would be on the rail bed and 2 alternatives would be off the rail bed around the properties that we do not have easements for. They would not be doing anything with other landowners. They're only going to be looking at it from a practicality standpoint. You know, the number of different landowners, the environmental impacts. There's a lot of wetlands in the Etna section that make construction challenging, you know, added expense and permitting and mitigation and all kinds of other kinds of things. So they're going to be looking at spatial data. They're going to be looking at the actual condition of the rail bed. And then they're going to come to us with 3 alternatives and 3 range of costs for each of those alternatives. And then the town is going to select its preferred alternative. And then they're going to take the preferred alternative and get much more accurate costs for what construction would look like to a level that allows us to use those figures for grants for the phase 3. And this should not take an enormous amount of time. So, you know, we're looking at, you know, April, May, depending on how soon we get started. You know, to be at that finished report.
That's great. And we are hearing that as we've said before, the TAP grant program may reissue requests for proposals. The grant program may open up to applications rather, and it could happen in the summer or fall. So we're positioning ourselves to have the data that we need to apply for another TAP grant. And as it says in the minutes, that TAP grant will be looking for enough money to finish the trail. That's those grants target large amounts of money finishing projects. So that's that would be a wonderful step to get to.
Oh, just one other thing. Even if we get the grant from the county, it might take a while for that to for the money to come and for the agreement to be put in place. And Dan indicated that the town could front the money so that we could get this started relatively soon, and then the grant can catch up and reimburse the town.
Great.
But Todd, aren't there still some properties where we can't get by them? Or are those not really be considered part of phase 3?
They're looking at what other routes is this.
Right.
But
things where we haven't talked to those potential landowners.
right.
Yeah, okay, I
Right,
get it.
so we don't know, yeah, I mean, some of the landowners have been contacted, and there's at least some of them have expressed interest in that, but I would say that the majority of the off-rail bed alternatives would be on parcels that we haven't had conversations with anybody yet about, and we could end up in the same situation that we're in now. But at least we'll have, at least the town would have the economic outcomes of those other possible choices. And, you know, for example, if the route on the rail bed requires 5 additional easements that we don't have, and it costs $1 million, and the alternative 2 requires 20 additional easements and costs $20 million. That's very useful information.
The 2 off-rail bed options that they're looking at, that's just 2 different routes that they'll come up with. Is that correct?
So hypothetically speaking, 2 options, could it be, Lower Creek Road, Upper Creek Road, 366 into Freeville as a side, trail right next to the road?
They could potentially go down that route, and we would say, well, what's the likelihood of DOT giving us all of those kinds of approvals? And the answer is probably unlikely to run something along a major highway like that. And so then we're like, well, then that shouldn't be an alternative that you pursue. Or we just upfront say, one of the goals of the project is to minimize road, the trail being on the road.
Yeah, or next to a road, yeah.
Yeah, we should say that.
We should say that, yeah.
Well, the overall project has 4 meetings as part of it. And that first meeting is setting these kinds of parameters that we want their assessment to be. And we'll be giving them some information that we know to help make some informed decisions up front about who we've talked to, who we haven't talked to.
At this point, do they know where we've got easements and where we haven't before they, at this point, do they already know that? They don't.
No, well, I mean, we've given them some broad information. That the reason that we're doing this is because we don't have all the easements and we haven't been successful in getting them.
Yeah. And just to follow up on that, Tony, you suggested that it would be valuable for us to document all the approaches that have been made to the 4 landowners that have resisted giving easements to us. And so that's a project that I said I would spearhead, and I'm imagining that I would be doing interviews with folks like Rick Young, who has done some overtures and in fact work for at least one of the property owners and so on. And Gwen Beck, I think, remembers. I'll go back into Bob's records, and then I'll begin seeking out anybody who has any information, who has tried to talk to these landowners. I'm thinking you guys have some history with Mark Anderson and probably Graham Dobson, and so we'll be trying to get as much information as we can. Also, I found in my files some descriptions of alternative routes that Bruno made about 3 or 4 years ago. And he, I think, did approach some property owners, and I have I think I have some pretty good documentation on what that looked like. So we can put all that together to let the Erdman Anthony folks know, here's our best guess about where we're at with these property owners.
Yeah, that'll be really critical to get all of that. Yeah. Well, it'll be very critical for all of us to know all of that.
Yeah. There were a lot of cooks in the kitchen in terms of approaching different folks, so it'll be good to get it all in one place.
I mean, the TAP grant is in theory is a transportation alternative, right? So, I do wonder if the motivation or one of the optics is looking at an avenue for bicyclists, right? Or e-bikes,
Right.
to move from Dryden to Ithaca or Ithaca to Dryden or whatever.
Right.
And so when you look at it and frame it that way, then it's like, oh, we'll go along the main road and just have some sort of, barrier to, prevent, like basically having a bike lane. So, but that's not, that's beneficial for a TAP grant, but that's not what our motivation is. I feel like our motivation is to, yes, have a transportation alternative for people wanting to commute back and forth, but also allowing people to get out and enjoy the natural world.
Yeah, it's a multi-use. We have a multi-use goal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. So I'll be, in the first of the year, I'll be getting in touch with a few people to just get the various documentation, who's talked to whom.
I think it would be good to have sort of just at least an estimate of what it's gonna cost to finish it. This seems like a really good thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This knowledge is what we need. Otherwise, we're just out flailing in the dark. So this will give us a great deal of understanding and knowledge of what we might not be able to do.
Yeah, and this is costing, we've noted this in past meetings, this is costing less than we initially heard from Fernando it might cost to have Erdman Anthony do this work for us. So we're lucky to have them on board at this cost, and we're really fortunate that there is Transportation Council money that looks like it will pay for this work. So it feels like lots of progress on both of these fronts in phase 3 and the bridge. So good. If nothing else about planning and funding for phase 3, let's talk a little bit about well, my timing was really crazy. I'm looking at my let's talk about trail ambassadors. Thank you, Tony, for sending us an updated trail
There's some printed
ambassador.
copy, but I have a few.
That's the change.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I
I
promise
did
to-
that.
Do you want to put it up on the screen?
Yeah.
I don't know where we got stood, so. We have 9 hours. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thanks. You have your own.
Mine, but
No, Presumably you know what it says.
I think this is hard for me to see on the thumbnails, yes.
Yep.
Good. You know, the one thing I promised to send feedback about this and I didn't. The one thing that it occurred to me just in terms of the duties of ambassadors to change in terms of emphasis is sharing enjoyment of having of being on the rail trail with others. I think I would just move that up in terms of like a positive statement. You walk the trail, you share the enjoyment.
Okay.
And, you know, examples of that might be, you know, the option to, and I agree that we don't want this job description to be too detailed. Because if people think they have to do too many things, they're gonna say, no, I'm sorry, I can't pull this off. But there would be the option of organizing events in the trail section.
I think it's important to have enough kind of different things listed in this as an option to get people's imagination going and also to hit them where they're interested.
Yeah.
So someone that really reads this list might not say, it's not me. But if they saw something like that, if they're a very congenial kind of person that likes to do this kind of thing, then they say, oh, I'll do that. You know, I think it might be good to have that, both that, and also I really think having the option to write a blog might appeal to some people. I mean, I like writing things, but I've never wanted to take on the responsibility of a, you know, a blog myself. But it gives me an opportunity to, you know, exercise that muscle in myself that I enjoy doing. And there might be other people like that. I don't know. I don't know what the balance is between having.
Right, so Susan had this list of things that she suggested could be put in it, I think, and I'm very conservative, and I didn't want to put anything in there that I wouldn't want to do.
Oh, but there are people that are different.
I know, but I don't want to frighten anybody off as well, so I mean, they can go in, it's just, this was my perspective.
I see, okay. I think option of doesn't frighten people off.
But maybe it needs to be, there's certain things that they must do, and then
Yes, there are things that there's an option for.
yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that.
But we also welcome all these other skills.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of having people to write blogs.
And at what point is that crossing over from a trail ambassador to somebody who's volunteering for the task force to contribute writing skills, you know, and creating materials that can be put online.
Yeah, I can imagine that there could be a graduation from being a trail ambassador to actually joining the task force. That's one of the things we thought might flush out some more contributors. I like the idea of keeping it simple, but adding some options, like this could look like.
Because different people do have different strengths or different interests, different
Yeah.
personalities, so.
And if they don't see themselves here, then they come back and say, no, I'm not interested in that.
Right.
But if they see something that is part of their strength, then they'll say, "Yeah, well, I could also do that." You see what I'm saying?
I think we might have trouble getting 10 people to agree to do this. And so I think one possible consideration is I mean, like, whether these are whether we need to consolidate them into fewer sections. Keeping volunteer programs going is work. It doesn't happen automatically. We've had a lot of support from the Cuban Trails Club. They're the groups that Charlie was mentioning that have helped us with the different bridge projects. Those are like get together and do a day's work and then they're done. The whole year commitment, kind of a volunteer opportunity, is a different kind of a thing. It doesn't have a social component to it quite the same way. And people think that they have time and then later they find out that they don't. So that just my 2 cents is that's a lot. 10 sections, even some being like the game farm is just 0.35 miles. So maybe if people are willing to sign up for more than one section, that might be
I think
strategy.
that would be the way to do it, instead of making longer sections, that gets intimidating. If you know you can't walk through your section in 45 minutes or an hour, then you know, you're not gonna do it very often.
Yeah, I think it should say walk or bike too.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
some
walk or
people,
bike is-
that's how they do want to get around.
Travel.
But I like it.
Travel it, yeah.
I like this breakup and then saying volunteer for one or more sections. You could get
Okay.
people maybe to do. I've never seen it as something that we have to have everybody on every section, and we have to keep this, so, you know, it's just, you know, if we can get people excited and engaged and, you know, get some of these things covered, I think that's all to the good. But I don't think we have to work to make sure we have every section covered. It's not.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think we might get some upward interest. It'll be sustaining it over time. That will be the challenge. Ben,
You should ask, I know you're connected with the high school. This seems like something that high schoolers would want to know.
Exactly.
Something in the green team, I know there's a green
the
team.
sustainability.
Sustainability.
Yeah.
Reach out,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think some of our students could be really interested.
I know some students probably live right next to the trail.
Yeah, all along
Right,
the
yeah.
sections, yeah. Yeah, that would be great. So I wonder if we could get this into, say, like 4 bullet points instead of 6, something really a little bit more generic. We'll take a shot at it, yet another statement of this, and our goal is to get this posted at the first of the year. I thought it would make sense to wait until after the holidays are over and put something out to the listserv that just says, here's our new program, and we have some other volunteer opportunities that Susan has written up, so
Get those posted as well, you're saying?
yeah, I'm thinking of a little end of 2024 update. We've not done anything on the listserv that beyond acknowledging that we've lost Bob Beck as a leader to describe where we're going now, outside of just the minutes. So I think, you know, something, we're still here, we're going strong, and here are ways that you can support us.
Yeah, and here's what we've done, and talk about the bridge and,
This is a really feel good and let's move forward story for the beginning of 2025, I think. So maybe just hashing through this language, taking some of these suggestions into consideration and bulleting out something that's a little bit briefer. And then I see this as a work in progress. We'll see who comes forward. We'll call a meeting of folks who are interested. We'll hash through what people are interested in, and we'll probably modify the program as time goes on. So
who's going to oversee it? Sorry, who's going to oversee it? As Todd said, there's a lot of work overseeing volunteers, and I
I think we will need to talk about who will volunteer to be ongoing trail ambassadors, liaisons from this task force. Remember when we reorganized, we said we hope that every task force member will help with some aspect of the work beyond just attending the meetings here. So we'll be looking for volunteers to have those meetings. And I see myself involved in that, you know, the initial meetings and development of the program alongside those of you who are willing to volunteer. So Tony, Steve, and Chris, you all were willing to help us draft this. So think a little bit about your willingness to help with the ongoing and I don't want to say supervision, but liaison work or communication with folks that are willing to do this work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm I feel like once we have something sort of established, a conduit, you know, we talked about having sort of an email address or people can reach out to us through, you know, Facebook Messenger or Instagram messaging or what have you. That I certainly don't mind responding to people and giving feedback.
Great.
You know, I think that the first step is kind of like getting something out there.
Yes.
So that we start getting engagement from people who are new to the area, or you know, want to see this move along.
Right. Yeah.
You know, whatever we put out to the group, we should post it on our blog and also on Facebook.
On our Facebook page, yes. I think that's good. We will. I have to think about the listserv, the Facebook, that big picture of all the ways that we can put the word out and post it on our webpage as well. Yeah, good. Thank you.
When should we meet again? Since we want to maybe discuss or refine this.
And thunder, lightning or rain, when the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost or
Exactly
won.
what's going through my mind too.
That's Macbeth.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah. You phrased it that way.
I guess I'll let you guys do that offline.
Do you want to take a shot at changing one?
Yeah.
I'll send you the Word file and you.
Yeah, I've got the Word file.
Okay.
Okay.
No, what I sent today was it was a Word file.
Yeah. Good. So for our next meeting will be the third Monday of January, and I think that would be a good opportunity for us to sort of say, yes, this is it. The final.
Which date? What did you say?
Let me just pull up.
Third month, the
which one
20th,
that is.
which is the holiday week.
Martin Luther
Oh,
King.
it's always Martin Luther King observed day.
Yes.
That we have met on that day in the past. It is, it's the 20th in this of January, yeah. So I think that would be a good goal to come back and say, this is the statement that we would like to go out. And you guys have the write-up from Susan about other volunteer opportunities, great. And so we'll finalize that you guys will take a shot at it, we'll finalize it at the January meeting, and then off it will go. Great. Okay, I'll unshare that, and then let's stop the share. There it goes. Okay, and so let's talk about the signage. Thank you very much for both giving us hard copies and sending us the copies of the work that you've been doing, and looking for comments and feedback on these designs.
I've already gotten one comment that I forgot a word.
Forgot a word, yeah.
I intentionally left that out, just so.
Reader spotted that in the welcome sign, there is a missing two. It should say, the welcome sign should say that the,
Bicycles and e-bikes yield to pedestrians and horses.
correct, yeah.
Is the mountain on the logo supposed to be Mount Pleasant?
That's a generic, well.
I think generic, it's no.
That's not hilly enough.
Mountain, it could even be a bush next to the trail.
That's a pretty big push.
It took us, when we were working with the design committee, it took us a long time to go from sort of literal representations to more symbolic representations.
I think one of the symbology was the hill to the east northeast of like Dryden Lake.
Yeah.
You know,
It was inspired by that, but it's not meant to be
Right.
100% representative. It is supposed to represent, you know, possible vegetation in the distance of mountains.
Oh, that will be.
You're going through nature.
Yep.
That's
The rolling hills.
right, that's right. So I did get one comment from Ray Berger about the Burma Shade style, signs. And it was, the one that, please remember to clean up after your dog. And he was saying, I hate to, put the focus so specifically on only dog owners. And so he suggested an alternative phrasing, which is just something more along the line of help us maintain our trail, clean up after yourself and your pet. Okay, that's too many words, but that's the
We could just
feeling
say
behind it.
clean up after yourself and your pet.
Yeah.
But
think of-
realize that yourself and your pet.
Yeah.
I mean, we're adding yourself and, these are supposed to be,
4 seconds.
I mean, quick.
4 seconds,
4
yeah.
seconds, and the thing is like,
Well,
we're really trying to get it, we don't want dog poop on the trail. I mean, we don't want you to drop your.
Particularly poopy
what about
bags.
please clean up after yourself and your pet?
Yeah,
Leave
we're
it
adding
in there.
more and more words, we want
No,
fewer.
please clean up after yourself and your pet.
What about
And
leave
keep
no,
dogs on leash.
leave no
That's a
trace?
different sign.
What?
Leave no trace.
Leave no trace.
Mm,
Yeah, it doesn't
Get
hit the
that.
dog trail.
And they don't connect shit, you know, because people think that species are natural.
Right, well, one thing you could do is keep that one the way it is, but the very next one say, please don't litter or whatever. we
Yeah,
will say
I mean, well,
something
there,
like
that, I would definitely agree with that, with there,
Yeah.
maybe there should be another one that, well, it says remember to carry out your trash.
Yeah.
And this could just say, please don't litter.
Yeah.
So thanks for your input, Ray, but we don't always accept input from everybody's suggestions and
But
My-
having those two signs, one after the other, I
Right.
think makes a lot of sense. Because then it takes it off the dog and it's not only, okay, not only you dog owners, the rest of you guys too.
And rather than remember to, we can say, please
Yeah, clean up.
clean up after your
Yes.
dog. I mean, one of the things I was hoping is people would think of things that we forgot.
Yeah,
Maybe
you know
it's hard
something,
to know.
Diane, I had a dream last week. And there were at least 3 things, I was riding along the trail, I saw 3 signs, I know, and now I can't remember what they were, I've been trying ever since then.
By your bedside.
We also talked about the please keep left except to pass, and now follow on left might be a little too wordy, and is
Yeah.
there a more succinct way to say that?
Well, again, you can break it into 2 signs. Have one and then short while later.
it's a lot of sentences in it.
I
But
don't like a lot
it's
of
something
signs.
that,
Well,
it's. You know, it's not rapid fire, it's something that.
Pass and announce on left.
Pass and announce on left.
I think that's too vague. I wouldn't know what that means, and I knew it. You haven't seen these, have you? Can we
I've not
just-
seen
Yeah, left, anyway.
Give it, it's another copy, please show these to Ben here.
Oh, you shouldn't keep right except in that.
No, I'm giving left.
Oh,
It means, oh, yeah. we're
Yeah, we
just-
should be
it
keeping
says-
right. We should be keeping.
Keep right.
Keep
That's
right,
correct.
keep right. We count on left.
Pass on left, keep on right.
Keep right,
Keep
pass on
left.
left. How about that?
Left.
Keep right, colon,
Right.
pass
Pass
on
on
left,
left.
colon,
Are-
announce.
Are these
Unless
signs
you're
gonna be like,
violent.
how big are these signs? gonna be?
It is keep left.
They're gonna be along the trail, we know. like
Yes,
the trail.
and
It is.
the lot,
Apparently they have. this-
okay, the logic
I
is,
see the, H1
Well,
treat the trail
Yeah,
like
so did you
it's
see
a
theirs?
road.
Okay, I did, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's the same sort of.
You walk on the
So
left
we
side
wanna
of the road,
Put them
you
on
walk on the right side of the
on
road.
the back of the violation.
So if you're, no, but if you're sharing this pathway with,
Oh, never mind.
Here's the 2 conversations going on. Can we just, okay, Chris, could you go ahead? Yeah.
yeah, so if the trail should be treated kind of like a miniaturized road, because there are faster moving objects and there are slower moving objects. The pedestrians are the slow moving objects, they walk on the left side. Okay, so that when people are coming along their now right side coming at you, you see
On a
them
road, you
on
want to
approach.
space the oncoming traffic. Of
Exactly,
course.
so you, that
Is
is the
this,
same.
but is it really,
That's
It
totally-
is,
that's-
you have to have standardization, because you end up with some people on the left and some people on the right, and it's never clear for bicyclists are trying to pass, and then, you know, you have pedestrians get confused. I've seen it,
I would be
you know,
very
experienced
confused if
it.
I was told to go to the left.
Me too.
Because
be
that's not
very
the way it is on
confused.
East Hill Recreational or any of the other trails.
What
in
do
the
they
area.
actually say anything?
No, but it's kind of like the way people.
And
are
that's
doing
the basic rule. It's the basic walking rule on a trail, is you stay to the right. I mean, that's
I agree.
the way you walk on a trail, you stay to the right.
I think that's correct. It's different from walking on a road. I
Yes.
think walking on a trail is different from walking on.
We
a-
did find that in Rhode Island. Of course, this is Rhode Island, my home state, where it gets terrible. But you found that in Rhode Island, it's like stay to the right.
Stay to the
Stay,
right.
stay to the left, pass
Stay to
on
the-
right.
pass on the
Pass on right.
Yeah.
I think we're so used to
Or
as
bike
drivers.
right, and I don't know.
Yeah, I
it's
think
like-
that's where it comes from. I think that's where it comes
Yeah,
from.
as
a driver,
drivers,
So
we're-
I thought that this was for people going the same direction. Not coming at each other.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it is,
So,
but-
So if you,
Go ahead.
so the slow person's walking on the right side of the path.
Right.
And the person is passing them in the middle,
Yeah.
in the left to
On the
them.
Yeah.
So keep left. It's like,
The
who are you,
bicyclist.
who are
keep
you,
left.
it isn't clear who
Yeah, it's to keep
you're
left.
communicating to. Are you communicating to the person that's walking, or are you communicating to the person that's on the bike?
That's why I think it should be
And
two
also-
sides.
Which is why this is confusing people.
Yeah.
And if you say on the left, there's no room, this guy's already on the left-hand side, there's no room for someone to pass further to the left.
So keep right, pass left.
Yes, that's
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
Keep,
Yeah.
that's what everybody does.
Keep on the right.
pass left.
And then do we want to say announce hello on left? I mean, or do we want, do we need to tell people that announce that you're passing?
I think.
Yes, I
so.
think it's important for
Very
if you're
important.
cycling on your bicycle, you want to alert someone walking along, because if they've got a dog that they're watching, they're
Yes.
not going to jump out of you.
So maybe this is two signs, keep right, pass left is one sign, and then announce when passing.
Yes, that's a
Yes.
different one.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it, yeah.
No, just to say
Semicolon.
keep right,
Right,
except
semicolon.
pass,
pass
announce, hello or left. I mean, that would be perfect. Just take that left and turn it into right.
hmm,
'Cause that's exactly what people do on the trail. Or meant to. No?
I still like it as two
I just
signs.
walked down the middle.
I still like it as two signs. Keep right, pass
You
left.
like zigzag.
Announce and pass. I probably, it's two signs.
Eventually the Hasselhoff Pool Trail be gravel,
The Stardust, yeah,
Sundays.
even the, eventually, the chunk section.
everything eventually, yeah.
And then we're gonna have to change the logo so the path is gray.
Are there any plans to pave any other sections?
No, there's one section that might stay paved and that's in front of those apartments that,
Oh,
that
right.
he paved.
I hope they repave it though, because
I don't, it's a
like
real
roots
mess right now. It's a
Yeah.
real mess.
bumpy.
When we get to the point where we're laying stone dust in that area, I think one of us should go talk to him because he said he wanted the asphalt, but maybe he doesn't really know what.
Maybe if you see
What
how
the
nice the
options are.
stone dust is, so.
That's right. He might not even know what the options are.
Cover the stone.
But that's the only section that's asphalt.
Well, from Freeze
way
going
that-
south is asphalt
The-
for a long
The
way.
way that Black Diamond says it
Right.
is,
From Freeville
announce
going
yourself
south.
when passing
Oh, I don't know.
hello on your left. That's the Black
Mhm.
Diamond language. I am seeing some of these that I didn't send to you. One of them says, be polite, stay to the right.
There you
Ooh,
go.
on Black Diamond.
That rhymes.
So where did we see?
That's a
this?
good one. I like that one.
There's something to be said for some consistency with our neighboring trails.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, Diane, I said I said I didn't see any new ones, but now I am gonna send these to you. Okay. Any other comments on the welcome sign or the
I was gonna
signage?
say, if anybody, thinks of something in the middle of the night, like Susan does.
Sorry about that.
Should this be its own sign?
The yield to?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it could be a little sign that we put up on the,
It might be nice more, I love the graphics without it, because it's hard to integrate that in really nicely graphically.
Yeah, just its own sign in the Burma Shape series.
Never machine series.
Good.
I like that.
So just a reminder, we don't have grant funds for all the signs, and we also don't want it to be overly cluttered with dozens of signs.
So we were thinking that these would go back on the mile markers, and I did not talk with Rick yet about whether that works for him, but that is the plan. Again, we got word from Rick that he wanted to wait till his 2025 budget to make this purchase of the ones that we already sent quotes for. So we'll be getting our final list of possible signs together and to him maybe after our January 20th.
These weren't on the ask to Rick.
Right, this is a new,
Right,
this
yeah.
is a new one.
Right, so this seems like a good friends of, no, not friends of, supporters of, thank you.
Trail networks, supporters, yeah.
You know, would there be a donor that would be interested in
I would like
helping
to,
us?
I would like to say that I just sent a check for $550. From my
holiday craft fair.
Wow, wipe me out.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Great. Thank you, Susan. So we have had some donations that have come in from Susan. There are other folks who have sent regular donations, and that might be a place for us to look. I need to actually check and see how much we have in the town accounts from these donations that have come in. That's a great idea to look for another source of money. And I think people who are making donations would really appreciate donating to these signs that kind of will be welcoming and give people the drill on what we're looking for behavior here. Good.
Now, we don't, if we wanted any on the Game Farm Road section, we would have to talk with the EC about that. So at whatever point in time we get down to the mile marker, which mile markers and where.
Okay, I forgot about that. Yeah, carry out. Great. Judy, last item, donations through the Center for Community Transportation.
Yeah.
Did you-
I talked to Laura Vineyard of the Center for Community Transportation, and she put me in touch with Nikki of Bike Walk Tompkins, who will be working with us or me. Bike Walk Tompkins is a program of the Center for Community Transportation. I just wondered what that's the word she used, and it's along with Ithaca Car Share and Ithaca Bike Share. So their purpose and their interest is in promoting means of sustainable alternative transportation. So she says we're, right up their alley. It's not clear that we would be a program of, in the same way that Ithaca Car Share and Bike Share and Bike Walk Tompkins are. But she's interested in working with us, and she says she'll bring our request. I mean, we discussed how we might do it, which would be similar to the way Linda and Ari handled buzzes. But she says she will be talking to their board and the chair of the board, who's Fernando de Aragon. So he knows our project and would probably like to, know what it would take to do that. And her one concern was that it does take some administrative time. And it's taking the work off of our town officers or staff. So I said, well, it would be reasonable probably for the task force to pay, or the town to pay some minimal administrative fee, and I would talk to that's something that we would talk about in the future. So right now, And once, she'll get back to me about what the board says, and then a proposal for how we would go about it if they, how we would go about donations if they approve. And I did have a few other questions about, where I would go, where I would fit in with citing benches and, sort of doing the bench part. And Linda's going to talk to you about the where she would like to have the benches for bugs cited. And I'm thinking I could work with people on citing benches, have it approved by the task force, and then talking to Rick and getting his, consulting with Rick and also having him place the benches if it's approved. That's basically it. And also, we have a map of where current benches are. That's something that we could work on.
Yeah.
Because Linda doesn't really know where there are benches currently. And it's a consideration in citing new ones.
I'm going to really quickly share the map that Tony just sent to me today. He mentioned that not all the benches are mapped onto it, but will be.
Great.
I just want to say thank you again for
The ones from Freeville to Dryden are not on there yet. Because I wasn't sure where they all were. Haven't walked it recently, but I will walk it very soon.
So this is the shape of the trail, basically, and if you, it takes a lot of zooming in, but as you zoom in further, you can see all this wonderful detail that Tony has been filling in for us. The maps that we had in the past did not have crossroads. The more you zoom in, the more detail you get on this. So
If you go that way, you can see where the maps and put the other things on it.
And those are property lines too, right?
Those are property lines. So yellow is parking and green is benches.
Oh, great. That's wonderful.
yeah, this
Yeah. Great.
So I will share this with the whole task force now that we know that it opens well, and this would be a reference point for all of us. But I think you said there still is a little bit of it, more of it that you want to walk.
It will, yes. From Freeville to Dryden, I haven't done that part properly
Okay,
yet.
Great.
The trail is in the right spot, but I haven't put on the benches and parking. And I'll do that and then update this.
Okay, great. So maybe I'll wait and share it when that's done.
No, why don't you share it now?
I'll share Okay. Good.
Pretty simple.
So Judy, thank you very much for following up on the outreach to Laura Vineyard from the that group that might process applications from people who wish to make tax deductible donations. I'll just reiterate that people still can donate directly to the town of Dryden. And the town will provide a letter listing the amount of the donation, and folks can work with their own accountants to claim it if they wish for a tax deduction. So we do have a mechanism where that works. We could streamline it, especially if the Bike Walk Tompkins overview organization would allow Bike Walk Tompkins to put like a button or donate on their website. That would really be, that would, I think, speed up people's, make more efficient people's ability to make donations. So that's really cool. Thank you. And follow up on your question about how to do the citing of benches. That how does our liaison, first begin with Rick Young? Do you want to be involved in facilitating those
Yes,
conversations?
that'd be good.
Okay, good. So Judy, that's, so Todd is the person who's our point person with, for conversations with. So when you have,
Okay,
when you have a request for a site, then the next step would be to call Todd and he can talk with Rick about maybe a site visit or just, yes, go ahead, and here's when
Right.
Megan might install it, etc.
so Linda's interested in this. I don't know if she wants to say anything. Are you still there, Linda? Ah. I don't know.
Are you sleeping behind that? After
We
this
can
long
see
meeting. I really do try to keep these meetings to 90 minutes, but we are really doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
doing like.
So, Judy mentioned that Bike Walks Tompkins hinted at administrative costs for handling this. And, which I'm not surprised.
Mhm.
And, if I doubt that Dryden is going to be like, yes, we'll just unfund this, which means that some overhead would come out of the gift amount. The likely solution to it is it would come out of the gift amount, and so then we would be having net revenue reduction in order to facilitate a tax exempt donation from a donor. And I don't know that
Yeah, it's really
I-
to facilitate the button, because we already have a tax exempt facility. Because whenever I send a check to Town of Dryden with Dryden Rail Trail in the note thing, I get a letter back from the town that I can use for my taxes.
Right, I meant through a tax exempt donation through their entity, so,
Yeah, the other thing about those buttons online and that we've got something going on.
Yeah.
And so there's all usually fees
Yeah.
involved in that. So you're not only the administrative reimbursement part, but then there's the processing fee
Correct.
there too. So
Right.
that reduces the donation.
So that's gonna be the main question is like, what's the fee and how much are we willing to not receive in order to create this new potential revenue stream that we could be getting from, without the button, I guess.
Right.
I mean, most buttons these days, they have a place where you can say, and I'll give certain percentage more for
Right.
the processing cost.
You're often
And I don't know
asked
how
to do that.
many people do that. I always do it, but I don't know how many other people do it, but yeah. Then you know that your whole amount is going to the.
So that's a question, Judy, to bring
Okay.
back.
Yep.
Would there be should the board decide, yes, we'd be willing to do this for you, what would they charge us for what they've said will be their overhead costs? And then that comes back to this group to decide, do we want to pay those costs?
Right.
How do we want to? Do we want to? And then if so, is it donor, et cetera?
I don't know if that processing fee though is considered tax deductible portion.
It isn't.
So it's
That's why
not
they have it separated out. Separate. So it makes it very clear for your tax things then, if it's separated out.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good. These are good details for us to
Yeah.
get in place before we make any
Yeah.
decisions.
Not that donations are giving you such a big tax bounce back nowadays, so. It's not as big an issue as it used to be.
Now that the standard deduction has
Yeah.
increased,
It's
yeah,
not-
good. Okay, well, we appreciate that work and I appreciate all of the work tonight. We once again covered a lot of ground. We were really happy about the Route 13 bridge news. We're moving forward on both the logistics and the funding for phase 3. We have the Trail Ambassadors program moving forward, and we've got some great signage underway. So thank you to everybody for a great Dryden Rail Trail.
Some of these streets around a little more.
Okay,
Look at those
sorry
cupcakes all night.
you folks that are joining us remotely. We're gonna adjourn and just, nibble away here. Thank you again. Good night, everybody online.
I could send you one, but.
Topic of